Today's show is sponsored by Manscaped. For the best male grooming tools on the market today, head over to manscaped.com. We'll talk a little bit more about it later and how you can get a great offer on the Lawnmower 4.0, 20% off and free shipping. You're going to want to hear about this as the holiday season is fast approaching. We'll talk about Manscaped just a little bit more here in just a minute. Alabama, the number one team in the country, goes down to College Station, Texas, and lays a gigantic egg. I am going to go off on overreactions today. 41-38. Golly, what are we doing here? Bryce Young, not bad, not great. The completion percentage, not where you want to be. 28 of 48 right there. Brian Robinson Jr., definitely the lead back. We barely saw anybody else out there. Jamison Williams, definitely the main wide receiver on this. But we will have plenty to overreact to as it is Alabama football overreaction Sunday after one of the worst showings I have seen from a Nick Saban Alabama team in a long time, just because it felt like early on they didn't really want to play in this one. We'll talk about that in just a little bit, but first, use hashtag RollTide in the comments to get questions on the upcoming show. We'll have a mailbag coming up sometime this week. Be sure to use hashtag RollTide in order to get your question answered. I mean, it's just, there better be a ton of questions because I have a ton of questions. I have a ton of overreactions after this one. Let's jump right into my first overreaction. And damn it, I am concerned about this defense. This defense concerns the hell out of me, mostly because, and I know looking at these stats against Texas A&M, you're going to think, RC, the rushing team actually did pretty well there. The rushing defense did well, only 94 yards. Yeah, but that's really just because they went away from it. Texas A&M did. They didn't really rush too much in this one in terms of in the second half. Calzada, their backup quarterback, instead was targeting the side where Malachi Moore was ejected for targeting. Okay, that's why they had 285 yards passing in this one. It was an abysmal showing from this defense in terms of that front, really 4-7. And really the biggest thing for me is this run defense is a monumental issue. It has to change. And now you have no room for error. You have no room for error now moving forward in terms of, do you want to win another national title? You don't have any room for error. And if you show up and allow that kind of performance to, say, Georgia, you're done. That's your second loss of the season. I truly believe that because Georgia and Alabama are closer than you think. Just simple and plain. And I think that the prime example is what happened down in College Station. This run defense has to get better for Alabama and quick and fast and in a hurry if it wants to get to the goals and aspirations this team put forward during spring camp, fall camp, wherever they did that. It has to change quick. You tell me, though, are you worried about the Tide defense as a whole? Not just the run defense, the secondary, the linebackers. Let me know down in the comments below. Type Y for yes, type N for no. I'm going to hit the Y just because really that run defense is super concerning for me. I want to see them do better, and I think they have the athletes to do it. But overall, they have to change quick and in a hurry and get better because I do expect them to be in Atlanta for the SEC title game. But if you're playing Georgia, who will now be the number one team in the country, this defense has to be better, and it has to be better right now. You know what also has to be better? Really your package game, and Manscaped is here to help you out with that. Listen, the ladies, it's going to be the holiday season. Cuffing season, gentlemen, is right around the corner if you're watching this in college, and Manscaped is here to help you out. Get 20% off and free shipping. All you have to do is go to manscaped.com/chat. And listen, get the Lawnmower 4.0. The holiday season is coming around, like I said, and this is the best male grooming tool on the market. I personally have one, and I hope my family on my girlfriend's side is not watching this. I will stay correct here, okay? I respect y'all, but Manscaped, has done an amazing job, if you know what I'm saying here. Okay, 20% off plus free shipping on the Lawnmower 4.0. It's the best gift you could give to any male in your life. Why not just buy one? Buy like 4, give one to your uncle. Make it weird at Christmas. Manscaped is all about it, and they're trying to save you some money while doing it. So go to manscaped.com/chat and make your ball game and package game just a little bit better, maybe a little bit more smooth, unlike my performance in terms of making sure the future in-laws don't see this. Again, manscaped.com/chat. Use the promo code over on the site right there. 20% off plus free shipping and get that Lawnmower 4.0. Overreaction number 2. I'm going to be honest with you. This O-line, I mean, really the trenches just scare the hell out of me, honestly. The offensive line outside of Evan Neal is a gigantic issue, especially the right side. The right side really scares me right now. Look at the Alabama offense against the Texas A&M Aggies. And again, you like what you have here, right? In terms of the yardage total, you like having 500 yards per game and scoring 38 points, but you don't like how it came about, right? When your quarterback is constantly under pressure like Bryce Young has been and was down in College Station, 4 sacks allowed going into the fourth quarter, and they added a couple more after that. Outside of Neal, there are so many questions on this offensive line, just from really right all the way to center and even left guard a bit. It's really concerning. Things have to change quickly in order for Bryce Young. And I will say this, Bryce Young has a tendency sometimes to hold the football a little bit too long. I'll give him that, and I'll be critical of him. But the offensive line at the same time has not done really a service to him all season long in big-time matchups. They struggled against Florida. They struggled against Ole Miss, and they struggled again this week against the Aggies. It has to change moving forward going into SEC play, the brunt of it now. And if it doesn't, I don't know if the aspirations that this team put forward can be achieved due to the lack of really what's going on in both sides of the trenches, especially the offensive line. But what you think? What is your one-word reaction to the Alabama offensive line, right? I think we all know that Evan Neal is arguably the best offensive lineman in the country. I'm not worried about him. I'm singling him out for a reason on this because I think he's absolutely fantastic. But other guys on this offensive line, it has to be concerning, right? Like, you have to be concerned about this in terms of what the offensive line is doing. I don't think there's any other word to really describe the offensive line. You have some of those plays where really you give your quarterback no chance to succeed. Bryce Young, being the special talent he is, somehow figures out a way. But I mean, overall, you cannot be doing this in terms of in the college football playoff. Against Georgia, it's just not going to work out. And speaking of Georgia, I mean, you can hate me down in the comments for this overreaction, but I'm going to be honest with you. Georgia over Alabama right now, and that's with Stetson Bennett at the quarterback position. I mean, what I saw down in College Station made me more concerned than really I've been all season long with really any unit on the field for the Alabama Crimson Tide. And speaking of the top 5 where Alabama might not be after this loss to the Aggies, this was the top 5 going into week 6 when Alabama went down to College Station and laid that egg. Right, you had Alabama at number 1. Georgia, I thoroughly expect to be number 1 now. Iowa's going to be number 2. And you know what? I'll throw this out there. Don't be shocked if the Hawkeyes are number 1. They just beat Penn State at home. That's a top 5 win. They might be over Georgia on this one. I don't think it'll happen, but it could happen, right? Cincinnati, do you have Cincinnati above Alabama at this point? Cincinnati's giving you no reason not to. Do I think they are better than the Crimson Tide? Absolutely not. But the Crimson Tide now have a loss on their ledger, and I'm going to be honest about this defensive side of the football again. If the Tide can't stop the run, this ain't wrong. Like, in terms of they're just not where we thought they were, right? This has to change. The defensive side of the football has to change. You're giving up way too many chunk plays, and really the thing is, for me too, when you do get pressure, you don't finish it. At least in College Station, you didn't finish it, right? You didn't finish some of those sacks. Calzada got hit, came back into the game, and led a drive down for the game-winning field goal. But overall, you just didn't finish out what you started in terms of getting pressure on the quarterback. And you also, I mean, A&M just went away from the run game, right? That's simple and plain what happened, like it or not. And you got to be fortunate if you're Alabama in that regard, because I thoroughly expected Isaiah Spiller to have much more yards than he did. He's an absolute dynamite talent. You just have to change a little bit on that defensive front. But let me know if you think Alabama is still the best team in the country. Simply like the video. Let me know. I expect a lot of likes because, I mean, realistically, I think Alabama still is one of the best teams in the country, if not the best team in the country. They had a bad night. Texas A&M had a damn perfect night almost outside of one Calzada interception. Overall, Alabama is still a top 4 team in the country, in my opinion. But the problem is, things have to change drastically in the trenches for them to get where they want to go. I think the skill talent is there on the outside, including the corners, on defense, the safeties. They're playing well as well when they're in the game. They struggled a little bit against A&M, but that's because Malachi Moore was out for an egregious targeting call, in my opinion, in terms of you got to change that rule, NCAA. If you watch the recap video, I mentioned that. Change the damn rule, NCAA. It is ridiculous you send out a guy for targeting on that. Just absolutely ridiculous, but still, if you think Alabama is the best team in the country, simply like the video, and I'll know where you stand on this one. My last overreaction of Week 6 for Alabama, Bryce Young is not the Heisman favorite anymore. I don't know any other way to say that other than I think he's great, but when you lose a game like that, other guys are going to come forward. Simple and plain. That's what's going to happen, and guys are going to try and take that spot. I think a few guys have. These were the odds for the Heisman coming into Week 6. Bryce Young was the overwhelming favorite in this regard. Matt Corral at Ole Miss, who had a thriller of a game against Arkansas. Sorry, producer Trace, on that one. Didn't mean to bring that one up. That was a soft spot and an easy just jab to the gut right there for a Arkansas grad. Let them know in the comments, though. An Arkansas grad, just simply ridiculous on that front. But Desmond Ridder there as well. Spencer Rattler, he's not even a starter at Oklahoma anymore, and he was on the list. JT Daniels, I don't know if he's the starter at Georgia anymore with Stetson Bennett. I mean, when is he going to be back? But here's the thing. Somebody's going to step up and take over. The gap has closed significantly, and I think Ritter's got to be up there, closer to the top of this in terms of just being maybe the guy that is the Heisman favorite. I think Bryce Young is absolutely dynamite. I do think he is the best quarterback in college football right now, and I do think he will be moving forward. But at the same time, we know how this works. The best teams get their guys up there. Alabama is one of the best teams, but they're no longer the best team. And I think when it comes down to it, the gap has just closed significantly for this Crimson Tide quarterback in his sophomore season in Bryce Young and winning that Heisman and bringing it back to Tuscaloosa. Right now, he might be the favorite, but that's a strong might when last week I was coming on this overreaction and saying he's the clear-cut Heisman favorite. That's no longer the case when it comes down to it for Bryce Young. I think things have changed drastically in that front for the sophomore quarterback. But hey, what do I know when it comes down to it? I think we'll see a lot of things in terms of just the odds changing and everything like that. But Bryce Young, that gap has closed significantly in terms of winning a Heisman Trophy. But before we get out of here, predict the score for me for Week 7, where the Alabama Crimson Tide, don't know what they'll be ranked yet. They will be ranked. I assume they'll still be in the top 10, probably about 5th, 6th, if I have to be honest with you. We'll face off against Mike Leach in the Mississippi State Bulldogs, and this is an interesting game because do you know who Mississippi State beat just 2 weeks ago? The Texas A&M Aggies, all right? And you just lost to them. If you're the Alabama Crimson Tide, there's a lot of questions, a lot of overreactions. I want to hear yours down in the comment, and I do want to hear your score prediction for Week 7. Again, Alabama loses 41-38. Major changes need to happen in the trenches right now if Alabama wants to have a chance at winning that 7th piece of jewelry for Nick Saban as he loses, look at me in the camera right now, people, loses for the first time in his professional coaching career or just coaching career in general to somebody that has worked for him before in Jimbo Fisher. Just unbelievable. Let me know what your overreactions are down in the comments right here on the Alabama Football Report.